away at them. Now, in your spirit, just take a commanding sense of presence that you're going to overcome that. That's what I had to do. The biggest problem that I had from the 8th grade until I was a sophomore and a junior in high school is I just had to gain weight and gain strength. I was just a tall, skinny kid. But Goob Arnold, our football coach, went to the same church we did, and a precious man, a precious person, Goob and Lucy, I'll just never be able to repay the influence that they had on my life. But every day, I remember when we'd leave church, he had asked my mother what I was eating, and feed that boy. I was being encouraged to continue to eat. He made me believe in the fact that someday I could play football for Collinsville High School. I worked for my father in the Western Auto Store, and before long I could see, well, I'll go across the street and have a chocolate malt every afternoon and put an egg in it. I started lifting weights. I started doing a few things at a time, just constantly pecking away. And a whole lot of you are out there and self-conscious about being thin. You're not gonna gain that weight overnight. You're gonna peck away. You're gonna hit at the nail. I kept lifting weights. I kept jogging. I kept working out. And finally, by the time I was a sophomore in high school, I was big enough to play and enjoyed a career and had the opportunity to play and be active in 4 sports. So I think the key for me was that dream, was doing things, putting things into action, getting help from other people, and just pecking away and finally achieving the goal and the dream. Now, that's the kind of mentality we've got to overcome some of those kinds of obstacles. Now, the next item, and again, you might have to peck away at those things for years, but let's look at the next step. Whose help do you need to achieve your potential and get where you want to be in 5 years? You know, all of us have got to have help to achieve things. There's nothing that you can do that's really totally by yourself. All of us are interacting in the world with others around you. I gave you an example in one of our previous sessions about a bank teller, 5 children, a husband, busy life, very busy in her church. You know, she needed the help of her husband. He needed to share that dream that I want my certificate from Oral Roberts University. She had to work with her children. They had to take on part of the dream. She needed some help from people, and she went to those people, and she got the help to get over the hump. And you do too. No matter who you are or what circumstance you're in or what goal you have, you've got to have someone's help. What I'd like for you to do is be thinking about who those people are and list them. It could be a coach, a teacher, a pastor, a family member. There's any number of people that are important to you and you need their help. What my strategic plan for your life outline is encouraging you to do is to identify those people. Don't try to go it alone. I know too many people I know personally that think there's some sense of dishonor if you go to somebody else for help. Well, I hope we can overcome that today. If you've got some kind of a feeling in your spirit that it's no fun unless you do it all alone, well, friend, you didn't get born all by yourself, so you needed some help just getting into the world. There is absolutely nothing wrong with sharing your dream, your vision, your plan with someone else and let them help you. I think it's a great joy to share success with other people. If you achieve something, and I shared with you about the goal that my wife has to graduate after 21 years of marriage with a degree from Oral Roberts University in telecommunications. That is a shared goal, a shared dream. We are all helping her. If you really look very closely at my travel schedule, I tried as much as possible to be home on those days when she has her evening classes so that I can be there to help run and manage the family. When she graduates, we're all going to celebrate together. She'll acknowledge to you that she couldn't have done it by herself, but she acknowledges that joyously. Friend, if you've got something bothering you about somebody helping you, just pray that aside. Matter of fact, I think it's more fun to go get someone that can help you. Now, let's summarize what we've tried to do. We have tried to develop a foundation for a plan for your life. We've tried to understand ourselves even that much better. Then we've come in and we've tried to say, what are my specific objectives and targets? I want to measurably know what it is I'm shooting for. We've talked about little things like cutting pictures out and putting them on the refrigerator. As funny as that sounds, why not have right in front of you, right in front of the refrigerator, your mirror, somewhere where it's conspicuous, some of the things that you want to achieve? We've talked about overcoming obstacles. How do I identify the things that are holding me back and attacking it? We've put all these things together in the format. And this format's available to you. Most of you now have got a copy of that format on helping develop a strategic plan for your life. Now, what we're going to do in our next 2 segments is we're going to talk about how to control the plan. I'm going to share something with you that I've learned over time on how to take one sheet of paper and literally let that sheet of paper be the control mechanism that keeps you on target. Now, the other thing that we want to do is we want to come back, and you'll be excited about this one. I'm going to share some personal experiences, but let's work on a reward system. How can I reward myself, my family, others around me? If I achieve this plan, I like to keep some incentives out in front of me. We're going to do that in a future session also. We want to be able to finally put that last final step in. Here's where I wanted to go. Here's my dream. Here's my vision. We've worked our way all through, and now we're going to develop a series of how do I reward myself each step of the way. How do I reward myself if I'm accomplishing these particular points? Want to feel good about yourself? You want to just get up in the morning and have all kinds of energy, just feel like that every step you take's a blessed step? I'll tell you how you do it. You get a plan for your life. You get untracked. You get off of your behind and you say, I'm going to amount to something. There's some exciting things for me out there in my life. And you know, the Lord needs another soldier who's out there willing to do things and willing to succeed. Why do I need to succeed? We need successful Christians all across America. We need them in every kind of organization, city government, driving buses, managing cities, managing companies. Every walk of life, we need successful people. Now, how do we keep our plan under control? How do you overcome what I call the New Year's Eve syndrome? Something that's just come out of our society. It seems like New Year's Eve, we confess all kinds of New Year's Eve resolutions. And you know, I saw a study that said that people keep their New Year's Eve resolutions on the average of about 46 days. Now think about it. If we've gone to all this trouble to develop a 5-year strategic plan for our life, we've prayed to the Lord, we've gotten a sense of direction, we know where we want to be, and we're only going to stay on target for 46 days, then you've wasted your time and I've wasted mine. That's why today is so critically important. Just like that spaceship that's launched towards a target, if it only stays on target, let's say 46 miles, and then wanders off somewhere, then the spaceship isn't going to get where it's going either. We've got to have a way, a mechanism to control our progress as we go on towards achieving this target. Now, those of you with our worksheet, what I want you to do is turn to the page that talks about controlling the project, that says list one objective and then use the worksheet. We're keying off the worksheet. Now, if you don't have the strategic plan for your life outlined, just take out a sheet of paper and a pencil, and I can still help guide you through this process. Now, this is something that I use every day. I use this in my personal life. I use it in planning meetings on the job. I've helped any number of corporations and companies and churches install this process. What I'm talking about today will keep control of any kind of an activity. Now, here's what you do. You take any objective and right across the top of the page, just write out objective, and then write out whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. Now, working off your planning guide, what you do is you go back and pick, just for the sake of this exercise, pick any one of those objectives and write it out. Let's say that in one of your short-term financial objectives, you're saying to get out of debt, reduce the over expenditures on your credit cards, to pay off your bills, and to get current on all of your notes by a certain date. Now that's specific, measurable, within a time frame. You're saying very definitely by a specific point in time you want to get your expenses under control. Now, right under that then, if you don't have the outline, write the word strategy. Now here's the definition of a strategy. A strategy is like a game plan. Looking at athletics, let me give you some examples from athletics. If you're in the last 2 minutes of a football game, we commonly call the strategy then is you're in your 2-minute offense, or you're in your 2-minute defense. That's a strategy. In a basketball game, if you're in the last 30 seconds of the game, when you go into a stall, when the coach tells his team as they huddle around on the bench, and he says, well, to win the game, which is the objective, what we're going to do now is we're going to go into a stall. That's what a strategy is. A strategy is timing where to commit my resources, the things that I'm going to do. There's no action taking place. It's just a conscious decision on here's how I'm going to do things. Okay, let's take this financial objective then and think about strategies. And I'm going to share with you some of the strategies that I use to help a family get their debt picture under control. Number one, use your credit cards only for gasoline or absolute necessities. Now that becomes a strategy. In other words, I'll carry those credit cards, but I'm only going to use them for one of those two reasons. What this particular family had done is everybody in the family had credit cards. The youngster away at college, a junior in high school, mom and dad. If you get 4 people using credit cards, it's real easy to say, well, I'll just charge this, or one more little charge won't hurt anything. Well, if you get 4 people every day saying, well, one more charge isn't going to hurt anything, you'll get in the same position this family will. Your credit card's going to be up to the limit all the time. So what you do is you develop strategies. We'll let you keep that credit card, but you can only use it for 1 or 2 purposes or for emergencies. Okay, other strategies are things where you keep track when you go into the grocery store and make up items that you're going to buy. I've seen all kinds of statistics on how we spend money in our grocery stores, and it's proven that if you'll list the things that you need, do a good job of planning, and then go through and use your coupons, you can save up to $25 a month just using your coupons and make very specific purchases that you'll do a better job of spending your money, a more economical way of spending your money than if you just wander through. Because what are you going to do when you wander through? You're going to pick up this, you're going to pick up that. Well, there's a little expensive cheese dip or caviar or something that I hadn't thought about. You're going to, about a third of what you buy are going to be impulse purchases, things that you really don't need. If you want your financial house in order, you're going to have to be careful about how you spend your money. What you're doing is you're listing your strategies. The use of coupons is a strategy. Okay, right under that then, write out the word action plan. Then put the person responsible. Now here you're going to list some very specific things. Now let me give you an example of something that I notice especially happens a lot in churches and nonprofit areas. You'll be planning to do something, and you'll have a planning meeting, or a family is going to go on an outing and you're having a planning meeting, and one person says, I'll gas up the car, well, I'll load the tennis rackets, another person says, I'll do this, I'll do that. Or say a church picnic. The committees are standing there just literally volunteering to do this, that, and the other. If you'll take out a pen, and as each person acknowledges they're going to do something, I'll line up the canoes. Another person, I'll bring the hot dogs. Another person, I'll bring the life jackets. I'll bring the car. If you'll write down each of these actions, write down the person's name who's responsible, and then in a third column, write down the date that they're supposed to have this accomplished. What you've in effect has got a written record of your plan. Now, if it's part of your own personal plan, then you've got to write out the very specific things that you've got to do. And almost the day that you do them, the day that you're going to get haircuts, the place you're going to get your haircut, how you're going to spend your money. Everything you're going to do, you're going to write down in an action plan. Then you've got to take a look and say, is there anything that I'm leaving out? Is there any possible thing that I'm leaving out? To be successful, to achieve that objective, have I listed every last detail of what I've got to cover? Ask other people. The more people that you get to look at it, the more suggestions. Well, you left out this, or nobody's bringing the salt shakers. Then, either write it out or type it up. And most of us work in a place where there's a Xerox machine, or you can use one. If not, you can go to post offices. There's any number of places that you can go to have cheap copies made. Then what you do is take that sheet of paper, put it right down on the Xerox machine, make the number of copies for the number of people that are involved in the plan. Then what you do is you get a copy of that plan to each person. Either circle their name or yellow it in, and get that copy to them. Mail it to them, hand it out to them, get it to them one way or another. That way each person can see, for us to achieve this objective, to have a successful church retreat, to go canoeing or whatever, or to get out of debt financially, everybody sees that they have a job to do and something very specific that has to be done. Now, you've also got a little check-off or confirmation date. As you get closer and closer to the date that this church picnic is going to start, you ask people to call in. Call in when you've lined up the vehicles. You check things off. How do you keep things under control? You don't go out and just bug everybody on how you're doing. The only people you call, you set it up so that people are calling you and letting you know they've completed the task. The only people you call the day before the church outing are those 3 people that you haven't heard from. Of course, you hope they've gotten the job done and just forgot to call you, but if they didn't, there's nothing worse than a wiener roast with no wieners. So there you are on your trip, you've canoed all day, and nobody reminded the person to bring the wieners. And that's really what you're doing. You want a control process that makes sure every last detail is covered. Now, before you get on the bus or in the cars to go on the trip, you've got the planning sheet out in front of you. You call everybody to attention and you say, listen, now here's what we're trying to accomplish on this retreat. Here's our strategies. Have all these details been covered? We hope the answer is yes, but you've got the plan under control. Now, it's important that you share your plan with someone. If you're excited about your plan, think about how much more excited you're going to be when you start to share this vision and this dream with someone else. What I notice happens is if you start talking about something and you believe in it, as you share it and talk about it, you're actually reinforcing, as you say those words, you're reinforcing in yourself, I'm excited about what I'm going to do. And you know what? As you share it, you're going to get more excited. Have you ever noticed that when you're talking about something you're interested in, you enjoy, you start getting more excited as you talk? And you know, as you're talking, you're thinking, you're creating a confirmation that, yes, this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do. It's vitally important that you share this plan with someone else. Now again, I realize there are going to be confidential things in there, strengths and weaknesses. If you've done this right, it's going to take a little bit of soul bearing to open up and share this plan. But all of us are close to someone, whether it's a parent, a wife, a husband, a friend, a daughter, a roommate, a son. There's someone that you can share that plan with. It's very important that you do this right now. Now let me share an experience with you, and this very same thing can happen to you. When I do these successful planning seminars around the country, I always, at the end of the seminar, challenge the person at the seminar to share the plan with someone that night. I also ask people to give me their phone number, and then I'm just liable to call you sometime later and say, did you share your plan? And I kind of enjoy doing that. I'll just pick up the phone and just call you somewhere. Let me share something with you, something that actually happened this past year. We were up in Calgary, Canada, and many of you might have been at that particular seminar and will remember this incident. But just as I usually do to a big crowd, I said, now go home tonight and share this plan with your spouse, with your friend. Share this thing with someone. I did just like I always did. The next morning we had a later flight flying from Calgary back to Tulsa, and we went to a church nearby. We were in the church, and one of the members of the choir had been in the seminar. I saw him whisper a little bit to the pastor, talking about and seemingly pointing out in the audience and acknowledging that we were going to be there that morning. And the pastor, I think, knew that we were coming. And he asked me to come up and say a few words. And I came up and I just shared some things from my heart about planning and how it could help your life. And then I did something spontaneously. I just said, well, how many of you out there in the congregation were in that personal successful planning seminar yesterday? And a few people raised their hands. There were people raised their hands up, but I noticed a young couple sitting right down on what looked like about the 5th or 6th row, and they raised their hands. Yes, we were at the seminar. And again, I've got a microphone in my hand, and what I did next, I'm not sure. I guess I'm just going to say the Holy Spirit led me to do it. But I said, well, did you share your plan with someone last night? Well, those people raised their hands. Well, I noticed the young couple raised their hands again. But something just got into me, and I just jumped down and took the mic with me and walked right over to them. I guess I've seen Oral Roberts and Bob Tilton and all of them in action, and they like to roam through the crowds. They always have. So I thought, well, I'll just do the same thing. And what happened next, I think, has a specific meaning for you today. I took the mic and I put it down in front of the young man, and they had 2 of their children sitting right there, 2 beautiful children, just a beautiful family right there in Canada. And I asked him his impressions of the seminar, and he said some of the things he said all the right things. It was a good seminar. It helped me, this, that, and the other. And then I moved the seminar over to the wife. And I said, well, I guess he talked to you last night. That's exactly what I asked him to do. And she came back and out of her spirit, and she started choking a little bit, and she started sharing. And of course, I had the microphone right in front of you, packed church, if you can get the picture now. And she's choking out an answer, and she's saying, it was the most marvelous night of our marriage. We had an opportunity to talk about some things that we were struggling with. I just didn't know in my spirit how to ask some of those questions. I'd been troubled by the direction. And we talked. We have never talked like we did last night. And I'm enthusiastic about what the Lord has in store for us. And I'm so thankful for you, Dr. Migliore. Now, that young woman made the greatest witness, a great testimony to everybody in that entire congregation about sharing your plan, talking it through with someone else. Now, I don't think this young couple is the only young couple out there watching today that need to sit down and communicate. I believe that there are a large number of you today that are in that exact same situation, and this very day you can confront some of these issues. You can take this strategic planning outline and look at your marriage. Where are you now? Where are you going? What are the things that you have to overcome? And talk through those things together. And I believe you'll have the same kind of a marvelous experience this young couple did. You're going to really have a sharing and communicating time. This strategic planning outline helps you set direction for your family. And each spouse has an equal say in where you're going. You need to discuss that. Let's get into the reward system. What can you do to really encourage yourself to stay on target? Well, you can have a reward as you achieve each part of your goal. Let's just say that throughout the year you're losing weight. Let's say, and a lot of us are struggling with that.